Hi and welcome to another lip-smacking edition of Island Kitchen. Now then, Les, you are the man with a culinary plan today. What are we doing?
Today we're going to make my version of seafood chowder with a few ingredients to make a fabulous dish. And the ingredients we're going to use are a little selection of fish here, fillet of salmon, boned, filleted by the fishmonger, buy it in the supermarket. Some of these prawns I've peeled already, topped and tailed them, took the skin out, took the vein out. Bit of smoked haddock, which the Brits love, and a lovely bit of sea bass, which has been filleted and boned by the fishmonger also.
Right, okay, and what have we got throbbing with? I can smell it, but if you haven't got smell-o-vision, what is it?
Well, this is where all the flavour is going to come from, Vic. It's all going to come from these prawns. As I said, I topped and tailed these earlier. I've kept the heads, stuck them in a bit of water, put them on there for 20 minutes on a low heat, and that's going to extract all the flavour there and make our stock.
So that's all it is? It's just sort of what's left of old...
Those pretty little heads and some
prawn.
water and it's amazing flavour.
Salt, vinegar,
You don't need anything.
salt, pepper, nothing? Right.
Nothing in there.
Cool.
All the flavour is going to come from our base that we're going to make now, and this is going to be our sauce, which is going to add that really depth of fishiness and seafoodness that we look from each other.
Right, okay. Now, chowder, seafood chowder itself, is it a potato-based dish?
Yeah, there's a variation of recipes. There's thousands of recipes for chowder. This is my own one. I do. There is potato in it. Being an Irish man, you know, I always have a few spuds in the dishes.
Spuds.
There's some potato in here, but the base is going to be made from a roux, which is basically butter and flour. To that we're going to add some courgettes, some leeks, some onion and some carrots. And that's going to be our veg, that's going to be our base, and this is going to be our sauce. And the fish goes in on top. It's all going to come together beautifully. So I'm going to start off with a nice hot pan. In goes a knob of butter. There's about 70 grams of butter there, 100 grams now. So we're going to melt that down slowly. We want to just melt it down, but we don't want to get any colour on it, okay?
Now, how much would this serve as a portion? Because you've got quite a good chunk of seafood here.
Yeah, this is quite a big portion. I'm probably only going to use half of that just to serve myself and the crew here. So this is what
Yeah,
it's going to be
crew
5.
are
We're going to do a portion of 5.
They're like vultures, really.
So take a look here, Vic, and see what we have. We have some carrots I've diced up earlier. I've got an onion. It doesn't really matter about the shape in which you do it. I like to keep it quite small, this stuff. I got a peeled potato here. I got a bit of leek ready for chopping, and I got a few courgettes here. I'm going to use about half a courgette. So let's get the carrots in with the butter.
Okay.
Okay. And what we're going to do is we're not going to fry these. We're just going to, like I said, lightly cook them in the butter, and it's going to bring out the sweetness and the flavours.
Do you save on washing up by the fact that you just use your hands to do this all the time? Is it just a chef trick?
What I save on washing up, I lose on plasters.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, let's get back in the action here. We're going to dice up our leek first.
Yeah.
This is going to go, the carrot obviously put in first because it's going to take longer to cook than anything else, so it's a little bit bigger. And like I say, we're not frying it, we don't want any colour because it's going to be a white soup. And if we fry things, it's going to give it a brown tint, and it's going to change the dynamics of it because it's going to caramelise and give it different flavours and different colours that we're not looking for. So, dice this up like this, real easy. Like I said, I put in little squares like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, you know, because it's a rustic soup. You know, big pieces of fish, big bits of vegetables, some potatoes. You know.
Yeah, but it's like you say, it's quite a substantial kind of soup, isn't it? More of a main coursey soup.
Oh yeah, you can have this for main course.
Yeah.
This
and white onions again, you say, because you've said before, haven't you, they're a little bit sweeter.
A little bit sweeter than the red ones, you know, for sauces and things. The red ones I like to use for salads. I'm going to use white ones because it's a white soup. Obviously, we want to have all these natural colours: the oranges, the greens, to go with the fish. The oranges, the greens, the blues, the lovely seafood colours. Let's dice this onion up, all right? I'm always getting questions about how you dice up these onions, you know, and people are going to make a big deal out of it. First and foremost is the knife, you know. You want to get a good knife in your kitchen. You don't need to buy a big selection of knives that people buy from the supermarkets, from different places. At home, I have one knife, one good knife, chopping knife. Use it for everything. So first what we're going to do is take a close look at this. We're going to cut the onion down into lines, but we're not going to bring it all the way to the end. So this piece of onion is going to hold itself all together, instead of trying to hold it together with your hand. So this is hold it all together, okay? So if we cut across the onion, so already it's making itself into little squares. We're going to make a cut across again, so it's diced. Right, so it's staying together itself. Now you just put your hand on top of the onion, nails first, so it doesn't start slipping all over the place and start cutting your arms off. And then we're going to just run the knife through it like that. And you get this nice little fine dice. It just saves on time. It's the safest way to do it.
It doesn't go all over the place.
Exactly, it's going to naturally hold it all together. So, the last little bit then you can just dice up whatever way you want.
That's a very impressive little trick to know, that one.
Well, it's very handy, obviously. If you're making a soups and things like that, you need to do a lot of onions. So
Yeah.
you don't have it like that. In goes the onion. So we have leek, we have onion, we have carrot. Sauteing away inside a lovely little bit of butter there. And like I said, no colour.
Yeah.
Like that, leave it cook down. As it cooks, like we do with all purees and soups, we like to saute a little bit in a bit of butter because it brings out the sweetness and the flavour. Instead of just adding it straight to the soup, where you're going to have, it's almost like the carrot cooks within the caldo, within the sauce. This way you're releasing flavour, so as soon as the stock hits it, all the flavours of the vegetables go into the sauce.
The butter. I love the way you say you're throwing a knob of butter. That's a really big, stonkingly big piece.
That is a big piece of butter.
It is a big piece. Is it salted or unsalted, or doesn't it matter?
This is unsalted.
Unsalted.
I'm using
right.
unsalted, and it doesn't really matter because you can season it to how you like it before with the salt and such.
Right.
I'm just dicing up this potato here, like that. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put a whole potato in here.
Whole potato. And again, these haven't been par-cooked, pre-cooked, completely raw, so it'll cook within...
It's going to cook within the sauce.
So it needs to be reasonably small.
Yeah. That's the thing. I have the carrots pretty small. I have the potatoes a little bit smaller because they're going to cook within the sauce as well.
Okay.
So you want everything to cook around the same time because all the flavour is going to come from the fish and everything. And it doesn't have to be perfectly al dente, any of the vegetables, and it's still going to taste great. So this is cooking away here. I've got my potatoes ready, which we're not going to saute. We put the potatoes in when the caldo is in because we don't want to release too much starch into the butter. It's going to ruin our sauce on us. So just to be very clear, butter with the vegetables. This is even if making a puree now, you can do it this way. Butter with the muerpa vegetables, which is the rough cut vegetables. Potatoes go in after the sauce. Right. After the sauce, I mean after the stock.
You see, I would have naturally just hoofed it all in, but that's why I'm not a chef.
Well, there you go. So this is cooking away. It's going to take about 2 or 3 minutes to cook down there. In the meantime, I'm going to fillet some of this fish. I'm going to show you how to take the skin off real easy. Okay, let's start with the sea bass, which is really easy trick to do. If you can look, we just run the knife right down in here.
Yeah.
Just till you get to the skin. Put an edge on the knife. Then you have control of the skin. Now, instead of moving the knife, move the skin along the knife. That way, you won't cut through the skin and end up with bits of skin. So then you get a clean piece like that. Sometimes you get a little bit of skin there. We'll just take that off.
Just say that.
Magic television. Okay, so we're back. And then we're going to cut this into little squares. We want all our fish the same. The same method with the smoked haddock. We're going to use about half this fillet. So cut down to the skin.
Yeah.
And move the fish.
That's the trick then.
Along.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
You're moving the skin rather than moving the knife and the fish.
If you're moving the knife, it's going to cut into the skin. So what we want to do is keep it nice, clean cut pieces of fish into little squares like this.
Okay.
Whoa, I'll mix this up here. That's okay. So we got the fish. Now, salmon. Half this again. Lovely fillet. Best way to buy salmon is like this from the supermarket. It's much easier and a much more delicate way of using fish.
Yes, because when you get the bones, I think there's nothing worse than with a pair of tweezers trying to pull
it out, you know. If your fishmonger won't do that for you, he's not a good fishmonger. Ask him to take them out for you.
Oh, right. So you have to get rid of all of them.
That's basically all the fish we're going to use. We're going to use the smoked haddock, the salmon, the prawns, and a bit of sea bass there.
Oh, this is smelling absolutely gorgeous.
The taste is starting to come together now. Right, be careful with the spoons. It's hot here. Okay, so now you can see it's just after softening up. We're not going to cook it through because it's going to cook. To this, we're going to make a roux. So we're going to add a couple of dessert spoons of flour. Okay, into there, and we're just going to move it away from the heat at this point. Okay, so now we want to move it around. We want to move the flour all the way in here, and this is what's going to thicken up our sauce later. It's that combination of flour and butter. It's from classic French cooking, which Chowder comes from.
And no worries about it going. It's not gone lumpy at all.
No, not gone lumpy at all. The flour you can just put straight. The trick is to keep it away from the heat. Keep it off the heat, and it's going to go in there very nice. We're going to add a little bit more to thicken it up. I've used about 2 dessert spoons there, just of plain flour in with the butter. Move it all around. So this is the base, ready made. Our prawns have been on here about 15, 20 minutes, cooking slowly. All the flavour from the prawn has gone into the sauce now. So now we're going to pass it through a fine sieve into our lovely roux that we have here. And straight away, when this goes in here, it's going to begin to thicken.
And you would again use nearly all of that.
I'm going to use,
stock.
it's best to use about 4/5 of it, keep a little bit separate, because if the sauce gets too thick then, you can balance it out with a little bit later. Or also you can use some chicken stock or some fish stock that you buy in the packets, which will work just as good. So we've got everything in there. We're going to use a whisk just to make sure we don't get any lumps in there. Just get it nice and move it nice like this. We're going to put it on a good heat. And what we want to do now is bring that to the boil and then simmer it down, get it to the thickness we want to get it, and then we want to get the flour cook out.
How long, we have the magic of telly, but how long would you suggest it simmers?
I would suggest for flour, I've put about, it's going to need about 15 minutes.
Right,
As a rule of thumb, I like to give flour about 20 minutes cooking. It really does take that long, even the smallest bit of flour. So, while this is coming up to boil, we can add the potatoes, which are going to take the longest to cook.
So it is worth doing, like say, doing quite small chunks. Otherwise, it'll just take a while longer to cook, isn't it?
The reason I've cut them this size is with experience, you'll get to know the vegetables. A potato that size will take about the same length as the flour to cook. Just as a rule of thumb, if you're going to make this at home, is to dice them up like that and do exactly as I've done it here, because this is the easiest way to have done it. After lots of trial and error, I know the way this is going to work.
That's it. We let you do all the error, and we get to get the perfection.
How to do it. So to this we add a little bit of seasoning.
Yeah, some people have said to me, watching you, your little bit of seasoning is quite full on.
Yeah, well, you have to appreciate too that I'm using quite big pots here compared to what you'd have at home, obviously.
Yes.
And it's a measure of a chef. Well, he knows his seasoning, so you know by your eye how much you're going to put in there, how much of a pinch you're going to get in there. So it does look like a lot, but really, when you taste it, it doesn't taste salted. Yeah. It is never salty. It's about bringing out the flavours in the vegetables. So we've got our potatoes in there. Now it's time to add the fish. Now, like I say, I'm going to give this about 15 minutes to cook down.
And because of the wonders of telly, we'll let this simmer. I'm back in a couple of seconds. OK, we simmered down now. OK,
so we've given it 12, 15 minutes there. It's cooked away nice and slowly. As you can see, the potatoes are nice and cooked through. All the lovely fish that we've got in there is cooked through. All the vegetables, the carrots are cooked through.
Because you don't want them soggy. There's nothing worse than soggy veg, is it? It just needs to have a bite.
In a soup like this, it's very rustic soup, so it doesn't matter if it's a little bit al dente. At this point, it can be as thick or as thin as you like. Okay, so if we want to add some more stock to it, we can to thin it out, make it more soupy. If you want a more hearty meal, you can leave it as thick as that. Almost ready to serve. To this, I'm going to add a drop of double cream.
Right, here we go. This is your drop.
This is my drop. Okay, so that's going to give it a beautiful silky finish, like you've never tasted before. So watch how it changes in colour. It's going to bring a lovely bit of whiteness to all that fish. Just at the very last minute, that's all you got to do is add that.
Yeah, so you're not going to heat it again now, really?
We're not going to heat it up too much. No. Just give it a couple of seconds there to give it a silky finish. We're ready to serve this.
OK.
If we pass the bowl, we're going to get up all bits of the vegetables here, all the lovely prawns and all fish we got in there. As you can see, it's a very, very hearty dish. But it also works good during the summer. It's got this lovely smokiness from the fish. It's got the sweetness of the prawns, the sweetness of the salmon, all the vegetables. It's a very healthy dish also, I must say.
That's amazing.
So it looks good. I'm just going to finish, as always, little bit of green, bit of parsley, just rip them off there, chop them up.
And while he's doing his chopping, we're going to take a look at what you need to make Les's amazing chowder. You will need butter, some leeks, white onions, carrots, stock, a variety of seafood and fish, some flour to thicken, salt and pepper, and double cream and parsley to garnish.
Bon appetit, Vic.
Thank you very much. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. So join us again next time for more fantastic recipes here at Island Kitchen at Mood Beach Restaurant.